Hello everyone, my name is Zura and I am the Codeholic. If you're watching my channel for quite some time, you know that I have built PHP MVC Framework for educational purposes. Here is a 10 video playlist. Recently, I added Docker support so that you can run your PHP MVC Framework using Docker. That's one of my latest videos. Check out right here. You can find this project on my GitHub repository. This is the main project, and here is the reusable composer installable core package, which can be used in your PHP MVC framework. So this one, basically, if we have a look in the composer JSON, uses this the Codeholic PHP MVC core version 1.0.5. That's the latest version. And the problem, and what we're going to do in this video, is that the MVC framework basically did not support the URL parameters. So if we have a look at the routing, for example, so right here we see login/ID. I created this dummy URL basically for demonstration purposes, and right here we see profile, ID and username, and this is something what we are going to implement in this video. So previously it didn't support. If you wanted to have some query parameters in the URL, for example, if you wanted to grab the user with ID 1 in your CRUD application, you had to do right here question mark ID equals 1. So that was the previous way how you could do that. Now we're going to implement that parsing of URL, extracting variables from here. Alright, again, if you want to see the whole process how I built the framework, check out the following playlist on my YouTube channel, which includes everything. And now let's open this framework and implement this routing. If you want to follow with me and do the same thing with me, when you clone the project or when you download the folder as a zip, you have to go to an older version of commit. So the latest commit already includes that URL params parsing. So if you just get the latest version, you are not going to have that. Also, the core package, the latest version core package, includes that one as well. So you need to go to the version, for example, this one, when the Docker is merged to URL params. So you just copy the following hash, then go in your project, and now I'm gonna call git checkout and paste the following hash. Hit enter, and that's the commit message, merge branch Docker. And this version basically doesn't contain right here, as you can see. So the ID is written right here because I started working on that earlier. But if you're gonna run composer install, you are not gonna have the latest version of core, and that's the place in which we're gonna actually work. Okay, so I have this project now started using Docker, set up using Docker, and I'm gonna start the project. Okay, Docker compose up-d. And let's open the browser and reload the page. And here we see welcome the Codeholic. Okay, that's our MVC framework. Now let's make sure which version of core we have installed. So I'm going to navigate into vendor, the Codeholic, PHP MVC, and type git status. We might not have git. Okay, I think that shows me the status from the root folder, and I'm going to type ls-la. And right here, we don't have git folder, which means that the core package is not installed with the source, with the git history. And if we're going to make some changes right here in this core package, we want to commit and push, we have to install using git. So I'm going to go back and actually delete that package, PHP MVC core. So I'm going to run vendor rm PHP MVC core. Okay, I don't have permissions because that one was installed from inside the Docker container. So because I am running my application on WSL and Ubuntu, I can remove this using sudo, provide my password. Okay, now the package was deleted and I am running my project using Docker. So any command should be run from inside the Docker container. Okay, I'm going to run docker compose exec up and the app contains app is the service name, you can check out how I Dockerize this MVC framework. Okay, I explain every single step about the Docker Compose and Docker the project actually needs. Okay, then we're gonna run composer require the codeholic / PHP MVC core, and I'm going to specify flag prefer source. So using this approach, it will install the source package with the Git as well. Okay, now this one was already installed. Now let's navigate into vendor, the codeholic PHP MVC core, and let's type ls. And right here we have Git folder. Okay, so this indicates that we can work on this project. Look at this. So the owner of this folder is root, because it was installed using root user from inside the Docker container. Okay, and if we just type git status, now we see that it's detached from version 1.0.5. Okay, so I'm gonna go, and that's the latest version. If you want to following along with me, you have to go to a different version again, because that version already includes the changes I made. Let's go to the project, and if I have a look in the releases, the latest release 1.0.5 is the possibility to parse out the parameters from the URL. Okay, we have to go to the version 1.0.4 or the corresponding commit message from here. Okay, if you have your own PHP MVC framework, probably you don't have that implemented, so probably you can continue working on your master branch. But in this case, I need to go to right here on this commit message, because after that I already started working on this one. Or I can simply go to git checkout version 1.0.4. Okay, permission denied because the owner of this folder is root, so I have to change. There is permission issue about the Docker, so I'm gonna fix that later, probably make a separate video, because Docker and permissions is a slightly tricky thing, to be honest. Okay, so I'm gonna change the owner now to my user. That's gonna be like this. And now if I type ls, I see that the owner is Zura, and I can check out to version 1.0.4. Perfect. Okay, now let's open the file from the core in which I want to work, and that's going to be inside the core package. We're going to work basically inside two files, a router and request. Okay, let's start with the router, and let's go in the index.php and actually handle the following URL. For example, when we open login/some ID, it should open the login page. Let's go to the login and append right here ID like 1, hit enter, and now we see not found. But this one should work, and we should be able to access also the ID parameter from the URL. Okay, let's start implementing this. Let's go in the router PHP, scroll down, find resolve, and right here we get the callback, and if the callback doesn't exist, then we throw not found. And that's the place we need to work if the callback doesn't exist. Okay, if the callback doesn't exist, I'm gonna call a method this get callback, which I'm gonna create right now. And right here, let's create this get callback. Okay, now first, we need to get the method and the URL from the request. Next, let's trim all slashes from the URL from the beginning or from the end. Next, I'm going to get all roads from the current request method, and that's going to be from road map to get all roads for the current method. Then we're going to declare a road parameters. That variable is going to be the final variable, which will contain an associative array of key value pairs. Like in this case, it's going to be ID corresponds to 1. Okay. After this, we need to already start iterating over our roads. Okay, and these are the roads registered for the corresponding method. In this case, we're accessing using get method, so it should start iterating over those ones. Okay, not with the roads which has been registered on post method. Okay, perfect. Next, we're gonna get the current route and trim this one as well. Next, I'm going to declare a variable that's going to be route names, and that's going to be the following names, okay, ID. And in this case, I'm going to declare one more route right here, and that's going to be profile slash ID. And we're going to also add possibility to define that the ID needs to be an integer. So I'm going to do this using regex slash t plus, and then we're going to have username as well. Okay, and we're going to see this implemented as well. So next, we're going to check if the route is basically a root route. If it doesn't exist, it should be an empty slash, just a slash, or null. So we just continue. Next, we need to find all route names from the route. Okay, now we need to start using regex. So from the following routes, we need to extract the ID and username and ID, and we need to do this using regex. Okay, let me first write and then explain. So we need to search the following pattern of inside the route, and we're gonna save matches in a variable. Okay, and finally, from that matches array, we're going to take from index 1 and save it into route names. All right, that's it. And now I'm going to print route names, and let's have a look in the browser. Okay, reload, and now we see right here ID, and that is for this route. For the rest of the routes, it is empty, but we have it populated for this one and for this one. Now let's have a look at the this regex and explain. Okay, we need to find the string which starts with curly brace, then it should have some alpha symbols, more than one. Then we use a grouping mechanism right here. Okay, then optionally, and that group is optional, then optionally, let me actually zoom in, then we can have colon and any symbol basically except the closing curly brace. Okay, and then we need to have finally the curly brace. Okay, if I just write the following text and observe that. Okay, so we need to find anything that starts with curly brace, so this one, then any alpha symbols and ID will be matched. Then optionally we can have this colon and something, but we don't have in this case. And finally we have the curly brace. Okay, it's going to match the following string, and then we're taking matches 1, which will give us the following group. Okay, only ID. If we copy the following and explain, so the matching will start with the curly brace, then it's going to match ID, then colon, and then the colon and anything that is not closing curly brace. Okay, anything except that will be matched, then the curly brace. And that's it. And because we are using preg match all and not simply preg match, it's gonna match the second one as well. Okay, and finally, when we reload the page, we see right here the matched parameters, ID and username. But that's not enough. Okay, we need to match actual values, take out and correspond to those parameters. Okay, so let me actually remove this, and we need to continue down below. All right, let's zoom out slightly. And next, we need to convert the road path, in this case, that's going to be the road path, into a regex. And we need to match the actual ID value, this one, using regex. Okay, so I'm going to call preg replace callback, and we're going to pass the regex pattern right here, and we're going to pass the road. Okay, and our idea basically is to convert the following string URL, or let me actually do this. So we need to convert this into something like login slash, and we need to group right here slash w plus. Okay, and this one should be converted into the following regex: profile slash and we're gonna have, because this one should only be integer values, digits, so we're gonna do it like this, slash another group. Okay, this is what we need to receive finally. Okay, and then if I just call preg match with the following regex on the received URL, in this case received URL will be login/1, or if on a second example it's going to be profile1/Zura, okay, this gonna be matched. Okay, so those are the actual URLs, those are the final regex which needs to be used to match, and just like this it's gonna match, it's gonna work. Okay, so what do we do here? So we basically do something similar, but we need to replace this with this string. Okay, so let me actually finish what I write here. As a callback function, I'm going to pass right here. I'm going to use the arrow function, and this is going to be the matches. If the matches at index 0 exists, we're going to return that matches at index 0, but we're going to wrap it inside the parentheses. Otherwise, we're going to return the /w plus inside the parentheses. Okay, and finally I'm gonna wrap the replaced string with the following symbols. Okay, that's gonna be the delimiter for the regex. Okay, and we should do this at the very end as well. Okay, so basically let's actually print this road regex. What does this do? Road regex, and reload, and look at this. Now this is the road regex for register, login, and this is what we are interested. Okay, and this is what we are interested. This is exactly what we wanted to achieve. And let's again explain the following thing. So we're gonna look for the opening curly brace, then any symbol. Okay, then this one is a group, which is an optional. There can be curly brace, then there can be opening parentheses. Well, actually, there should not be opening parentheses, but that's going to be another group, and there can be anything except the closing curly brace more than one times. Okay, one or more times, and we are getting the following group. Okay, and finally, if that group exists, so this might be optional. Okay, in this case, the matches to will not be presented, and simply we're going to use this /w plus, and that's the exact case for login. So right here, it uses the else case. Okay, and just like this, we have the correct road regex, and now we need to call preg match all again to take the actual values. Let me delete this, and right here we need to test and match the current road against road regex. So I'm going to write if preg match all. So if that matching happens, I'm going to pass right here road regex, then I'm going to pass the URL, and then I'm going to pass the value matches. Okay, that's going to be the final variable, and finally I'm going to dump the value matches right here. The URL is what comes in the actual URL. Okay, so if I just now reload this, and we should see something. Okay, so this is the matches happening, and this is the value matches, is the array right here, what we see. So this is the full match, and this is the first group, this is the second group. Okay, so what we want to do is start iterating from the first group up to until the end of the array, basically, and take out those variables. These are the variables in the URL. Okay, so let me actually remove this echo. And let's create right here a variable called values. Then I start iterating over the value matches array from index 1 until the end of the array. Then inside the values, I put value matches with the current index, but at position 0. So basically we're going to take this one and this one. Okay, perfect. And finally, we're going to have road params variable to be array combine of road names and values. Road names are just names, values are just values, and we're combining them and creating associative array for road params. And I'm going to also set these road params into request, because we will need to access those params in the controller or somewhere else from the request. Okay, and finally, I'm going to return the callback, and that callback is the following callback, which is inside the loop. And if the everything happens but the callback was not returned, so finally at the very end, we're going to return false. Okay, that's perfect. Now we need to implement that set road params. If we go in the request, and right here, I'm going to create public array road params, or this should be probably a private. And then down below, let's do right here, I'm going to create a public method set road params. We get params, and this road params equals params. We can optionally return this for a method chaining. Okay, and now we save this and reload, and we see page not found. Why does that happen? Let's go in the router and observe. Let me actually zoom out slightly, collapse this, and we need to see what's the callback right here. Okay, we should not see. Well, actually, we should do like this. If the callback equals false, then we return not found. Otherwise, it continues. And if we save and reload, we see that we don't have permission to access this page. And that's because we are trying to access the following URL, but we need to be authorized to access this. But let's try to access login/1. And we are able to access this. Okay, now it match the following thing. And let's actually create one additional road right here. Username. We can make this to be only digits. Colon is missing. Okay, and let's access something like this. The URL basically works. So it matched the following URL. Now, if we go site controller login, we should be able to access from request road params. We have set road params, but we don't have get road params. So let's create this one, get road params, return this road params. Save, go in the login controller and access get road params method. Okay, reload, and voila, we see ID corresponds to 1, username corresponds to Zura. So we have successfully implemented routing and taking out the road params. So now if you want to commit and push and create new package, you need to do the following things. Okay, you need to commit first git status. You need to commit first the vendor, not the vendor, but the package from the vendor. Okay, PHP MVC core. You need to commit and push that. Then go in the GitHub right here and create new release. You need to go to the release and draft a new release, and you need to choose a new tag right here, give it a title, and hit the publish release button. Then you can wait for a couple of seconds, but you can go to the packagist.org and PHP MVC core. If we search for this is the core. So we click on this, and you should be able to see the latest version right here. In this case, the latest version is 1.0.5 for my case. So whatever you create right here, whatever tag you choose, you should be able to see right here. And as soon as you see, then you can install the latest version using Git. So I'm going to actually delete this package once again, sudo rm-rf vendor the codeholic PHP MVC core. So I delete that, and now I'm going to run composer require docker compose exec app composer require the codeholic PHP MVC core, and I need to include version 1.0.5. Okay, so composer, what did I wrote here? Composer require. Okay, I hit enter. And now it installed the latest version, okay? And that should be the version what you see right here on packages. Now it installed the latest version. If we have a look in the package.json as well, this one is updated and the previous value was 1.0.4, now it's 1.0.5. And if we just have a look in the browser, so this one still works, okay? Go right here and maybe open the login again and print the root params, reload, and we see this one still works. Although we checked out the current work, but I installed the latest version from the package and the changes was already there. That's why it just worked. All right, guys, that's it for this video, and I hope you liked and you learned something new. So let me know in the comment section if you have implemented this. If you have implemented it in a different way, what was the way you have implemented it? Okay. And again, thanks for watching. Appreciate your lovely comments and see you in the next time.